What if a simple conversation could turn a stranger's entire life around? This is the true story of a man who was forgotten by the world until one unexpected person stopped and truly saw him. The streets of Los Angeles hummed with life. It was late in the evening and the city was alive with honking cars, flashing billboards, and hurried footsteps. People rushed past each other, their minds occupied with their own concerns, barely noticing their surroundings. Among them, Keanu Reeves walked quietly, dressed in a simple black coat and jeans, a cup of coffee in his hand. He had just wrapped up a long day on set, and instead of taking his usual car ride home, he decided to walk. He always found solace in observing the world, blending into the background despite his global fame. But then, he saw him. A man sat slumped against the cold brick wall of a dimly lit alleyway, wrapped in a tattered blanket. His head hung low. A cardboard sign sat beside him, its edges worn and slightly torn. The words, scrawled in shaky handwriting, read, "I was once a musician. Now I am just trying to survive. Please help." Keanu stopped mid-step. He had walked past many homeless people before. We all have. But something about this man made him pause. Maybe it was the way his fingers twitched, as if they still remembered the feel of an instrument. Maybe it was his eyes, tired, distant, yet holding a flicker of something familiar. He turned, approached the man slowly, and crouched down beside him. "Hey there," Keanu said in a soft voice. "What's your name?" The man blinked, as if shocked that someone was actually talking to him. He hesitated before answering. "Jonathan," he muttered, barely above a whisper. "Jonathan Riley." Keanu nodded. "Jonathan, I saw your sign. You used to be a musician?" Jonathan gave a weak chuckle, looking down at his hands. "A long time ago. Feels like another life." Keanu tilted his head. "What did you play?" Jonathan exhaled, a small, tired smile creeping onto his lips. "Piano. Jazz mostly. Used to play in bars, clubs, even a few fancy events back in the day." His smile faded. "But life doesn't always go the way you planned." Keanu didn't rush him. He didn't pity him. He just listened. Jonathan sighed and continued. "Lost my wife to cancer. Drowned in medical bills. Started drinking. Making bad decisions. Next thing I knew, I was out on the streets." He let out a dry laugh, shaking his head. "Funny how fast life can fall apart." Keanu looked at him thoughtfully. "That doesn't mean it can't be put back together." Jonathan scoffed. "You think so? People walk by me every day. They look away, like I don't even exist. I used to have a life, a home, but now I'm just part of the background noise." Keanu took a deep breath, then stood up. "Come on, let's get you something to eat." Jonathan hesitated. "I don't want your money." Keanu smiled. "Then don't take my money. Just have dinner with me." Jonathan stared at him for a long moment, then slowly nodded. "All right, I guess I can't turn down a free meal." They walked a few blocks to a small diner, one of those 24-hour spots with neon signs flickering in the windows. The smell of fresh coffee and grilled food filled the air. Jonathan looked uncomfortable at first, like he didn't belong there, but Keanu treated him like an old friend. They talked over warm plates of food, Jonathan opening up about his past, his dreams, the life he lost. And as he spoke, something changed in his eyes. For the first time in years, someone was truly listening to him. Keanu leaned forward. "If you could do anything right now, anything at all, what would it be?" Jonathan hesitated, then whispered, "I'd play again." Keanu smiled. "Then let's make that happen." Jonathan laughed bitterly. "With what? I don't even have a piano anymore." Keanu pulled out his phone and started typing. "You will soon." The next morning, Jonathan woke up in a hotel room. A real bed, a warm shower, clean clothes. It was the first time in years that he had slept somewhere safe. A knock at the door startled him. When he opened it, Keanu was standing there with a smile. "Come on, we have somewhere to be." Jonathan had no idea what was happening, but he followed. When they arrived at their destination, Jonathan's breath caught in his throat. They were standing inside a music studio. A grand piano stood in the center of the room, polished and waiting. Keanu gestured toward it. "Go ahead." Jonathan's hands trembled as he stepped forward, hesitating. It had been years since he had played. What if he had forgotten how? But as soon as his fingers touched the keys, something inside him ignited. The notes spilled out, hesitant at first, then stronger, richer. The music filled the space, and Jonathan closed his eyes, losing himself in the melody. Keanu stood back, watching. This wasn't just music. This was a man finding himself again. When Jonathan finished, his hands rested on the keys, his shoulders shaking. He turned to Keanu, his eyes glassy. "Why are you doing this?" Keanu smiled. "Because someone should have done it a long time ago." After the show, Jonathan approached Keanu and shook his hand firmly. "I don't know how to thank you." Keanu's reply was simple. "Just promise me one thing." Jonathan nodded. "Anything?" Keanu smiled. "Pay it forward." Jonathan's eyes welled up, and he gave a solemn nod. "I will." As Keanu walked out into the night, he felt a quiet satisfaction. In just a few days, one life had been transformed. And for Jonathan Riley, the future suddenly looked bright. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring content. Let's spread kindness, one story at a time.